What's going on, guys? So I have another part review for you today, and I am particularly excited to talk about this bad boy right here because I've had so many questions on this part. Even before I started my YouTube channel, I had people say, hey, Hawkeye, actually nobody calls me Hawkeye outside of YouTube, but hey, Mike, what turbo are you running? What kind of power does it make? How much was it? How do you like it? And on and on and on. And that has only grown since I got my YouTube channel started up, and people have seen my turbo, seen my car on a dyno. They want to know what I'm running and what kind of power I make and all that good stuff. So today we are getting to that. I'm a little more professional in this video than my last one where I reviewed my Mishimoto X-Line radiator. I have my talking points on a sheet of paper this time because last time I had them on my phone and my phone would turn off and it kind of sucked. So here we go. This is the 18G 50 trim turbo from BNR Supercars. I will drop a link to their website in the description down below so you can check this bad boy out for yourself, see what other turbos they offer, and all that good stuff. So this was recommended to me by Anthony at AV Tuning and Development in Charleston, South Carolina. I'll drop their link in the description down below as well. As I said previously, I'm the type of guy, I like to at least do some basic research before I go to have my car tuned or have a build done. I like to at least know what's out on the market, have an idea of what kind of target power I want to hit, and see what kind of mods I need to get there. Obviously, I highly advise seeking professional help when it comes to building your car because the internet could only take you so far, and at the end of the day, I'd much rather hear from a professional who has experience in dealing with that, because a lot of times they are able to make certain recommendations on what parts work well together and which ones don't. Or in this case, I knew what power I was shooting for. So I was shooting for about 350 wheel or so, and at the time I was looking at the HTA 68, I was looking at a FP Green, some 16Gs, some 18Gs, some 20Gs, even I believe it was the Blausch 1.5 XTR, perhaps. I'll annotate that if I'm wrong. But I went in there and I was like, hey, Anthony, this is what I want my car to do. I'm shooting for about 350 to the wheel or so. I don't care. It doesn't matter. But I am looking at some of these basic supporting mods, whatever they were. And at the time, I was looking at a Tomei turbo. I don't recall which model it is, but I will annotate that, drop a picture of it so you can see how nice and sexy that was. But basically, I said, hey, this is the Tomei turbo that I'm looking at. And, you know, what do you recommend? And he looked at it. He's like, okay, this is a cool turbo, but I have another turbo right here, this BNR 18G that he knew about that was able to hit basically the same power that I was looking at. The difference is that Tomei turbo, I want to say, cost around $1,300 or so. This BNR at the time was $750. And it looks like, I have their website up in front of me. It looks like the price may have gone up since then. Of course, this was, I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago. So prices change. It looks like it went up, but nonetheless, it's still a great buy. So before I get ahead of myself, number one, this part was installed at AV Tuning by their shop back in early 2013. I want to say like January 2013. At the time, my car had 130,000 miles on it. This was right after my first engine rebuild. So I rebuilt the engine and I went with this 18G turbo. And it was recently uninstalled by 6-Star SPF at about 170,000 miles. It was literally taken off like last month. So I got a pretty fair usage out of it. It's still in great condition. There's really no shafts play. Looks good, sounds good. So I will be selling this eventually. The difficulty of the install is maybe a little bit more difficult than some other turbos. However, it is a stock location turbo. It is not rotated, so it's not too crazy. The basic specs on this turbo is it is a 50 trim turbo, meaning it flows about 50 pounds per minute. And according to their website, it will support up to about 490 brake horsepower. I can attest that at sea level, I made 400 wheel horsepower on a dyno jet with this on my STI. My car was tuned down to a safer 380 wheel horsepower on a dyno jet, but it actually makes a good amount of power for what it is, and I was very happy with it. So next on my list are the pros, and there actually are quite a few of them. Number one is price. I know I just mentioned price, but it's worth mentioning again because price is the biggest pro, in my opinion, for this turbo. it is a fraction of the price of other big name turbos, and it gives you basically the same performance. And to clarify, this is a journal bearing turbo. I don't know offhand if BNR makes any ball bearing turbos. They basically focus on remanufactured turbos, stock location turbos, and journal bearing turbos and things like that. But this, in my opinion, performs as well as any other brand. However, it's a fraction of the price, and that is a huge bonus when you're looking for a turbo if you get this for a much better price. The second biggest benefit to this turbo over stock is it spools up close to stock, not quite as fast, but it pulls hard to redline. So if you have a WRX or even an STI with a stock turbo, then you probably have experienced how the turbos drop off from stock. They make all their power very down low, but as you hit, say, even $5,000, they really start to taper and just go downhill. My stock VF39 was notorious for that, and if anybody who has a similar turbo, you know that on the highway, it's dead. As soon as you hit $5,000, your power starts to drop, and it makes less power all the way to red line. And this eliminates that. It is spooling up a little bit slower than stock. However, you don't sacrifice all that much on the bottom end. It pulls hard and solid to redline, and that makes a huge difference. And the final pro that I want to mention is that it is a stock location turbo, and fitment is pretty good. There are a couple things that you probably have to do. TGV deletes. You definitely want to have a silicone turbo inlet hose and stuff like that. You're going to have to run some different oil lines, whatnot. That's standard stuff that comes with upgrading your turbo. But the fitment on this is pretty good, and it's not so massive that you have to go to a rotated setup or anything like that. But you can just bolt this literally in place to where the old turbo sits. And for me, it's worked for 6 years, and it's been great. It was very happy there, never really had any issues with it. So next up, I have the cons. And to be completely honest with you guys, I cannot think of any cons for this turbo. You could try and say, well, maybe it could make more power, or maybe it could do this or do that. But in my opinion, that's really not fair to level against this turbo, considering the price, considering the size and its design and what it's intended to do. This is built as an 18G turbo, and that is what it does, and it does it incredibly well. I would not compare this to, say, an FP Blue, which I just upgraded to. The FP Blue is going to blow this out of the water because of brand new turbo technology, which allows the FP Blue to do all its whooshy wizardry that it's able to do. But this is an amazing 18G turbo. And honestly, I can't think of any cons. You know, you could say maybe it could make more power, but I don't think it's not designed to. It's an 18G. If you want to make more power, you have to go to a bigger turbo. If you want something that spools up quicker than this, you have to go smaller with, let's say, a 16G. But in the realm of 18G turbos and making good power, in my opinion, this is one of the best, period, and it's one of the best, obviously, for the price point. So next on my list is, does it require a tune? This is kind of a no-brainer if you've been dealing with cars for any period of time, but if you're a noob, maybe you don't know this. So yes, any turbo change definitely requires a tune. There's a number of other parts that also require a tune, but if you're installing this turbo, it needs to be tuned professionally. There is no Cobb off-the-shelf map that's going to work for this. Do not install this and then just floor your car and get into boost. If you are installing this yourself, or maybe with your friends, you can do that, and you can talk to your tuner and get a base map, and you could just kind of limp your way to the tuner until you get it tuned. Next on my list is value. So as you could probably guess, I am going to score this very high because all I've talked about is its great price and its great performance. And when it comes to value, I'm giving it 5 out of 5 stars. And that's my honest opinion. I'm hard-pressed to think of a turbo that is in the same price range that gives you that level of performance. There are a lot of other brand-name turbos out there. Tomei, Force Performance, Blausch, Precision, to name a few. And all of those turbos are pretty much over $1,000. Some of them reaching well over $1,000. Getting into $1,200, $1,300, or more for the same size turbo or ballpark size turbo. And while some of those may have slightly better performance, obviously they have a lot more name recognition than BNR. I never even heard of BNR until Anthony at AV Tuning mentioned this. But this this turbo does not underperform compared to those other turbos, in my opinion. If you're comparing apples to apples and you're taking an 18G that is this turbo here versus another 18G, I think it holds its own compared to those other turbos, but it does it at a fraction of the price. So when it comes to value, 5 out of 5 stars. I can't rate it any better. Honestly, I have nothing else to say for it. It is an incredible value. All right, guys, second to last point is my recommendation. Do I recommend this turbo? Of course, I recommend this turbo. How could I not recommend this turbo if I just rated it 5 stars for value? So, yes, I absolutely recommend this turbo 100%. If you are looking at a turbo in this size range, in this power range. I was very happy with it, honestly. The reason that I upgraded from this turbo to my new FP Blue is because I moved back home to Pittsburgh and this was aging. It's actually still in very good condition. However, it's not brand new and it was time to upgrade to a new turbo. So the FP Blue is much happier at a higher altitude. It flows a little bit more than this 18G does. And overall, I'm very happy with my FP Blue. However, I could not be more happy with this turbo when I ran it. It's one of those things that I look back on very fondly because this has given me so many smiles while I was driving. You know, when I had this installed, I was happy with it and I didn't feel like I was lacking power until in like a recent year or two where I decided I wanted to upgrade, I wanted more power. But I highly recommend this if you are considering a turbo upgrade for your Subaru. If there's any parts that you see installed on my car on my Wheelwell and you want to have me review them or give my thoughts and opinions on them, I will do that. So drop in the comments down below which parts you want to see me review next, and I will try to accommodate that the best I can. With that being said, I want to thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will catch you next time. You're going to have to take off the turbo inlet manifold, not the turbo inlet manifold. You're also going to want to upgrade to a turbo but I got rid of TGV deletes. I didn't get rid of TGV deletes, but I got rid of my TGVs at the same time.